Marie from Pear Tree Paper Crafts. I'm here sharing another 12 by 12 layout with you. This one is of my son riding his bike. This was, I think, his second bike. It was a balance bike, and we took it on a ride through the woods. Probably not the best suggestion. It did get stuck in a few bits of mud, but we did have a lovely time, had a lovely adventure, so that's the theme of this layout. What you've just seen me do is take a piece of wood grain paper and cut it into the strips of wood that were on the paper. This is an idea I saw Danni Vee use on the Scrap the Boys blog for the May challenge. She was their guest designer, and she did the same thing for a photograph that she was scrapping. So what you can see I've done there is I've cut them all into different lengths. I've played with it. I didn't know whether I wanted to do it sideways or like top to bottom. I've decided on top to bottom, I think. And right now I'm just matting my 4 photographs onto a piece of vellum. These photographs measure 3 by 2. So I just tear around those photographs to make it look a bit rougher, a bit more rustic, I suppose, to match in with the wood theme. I've now got another piece of wood paper that I'm going to use to map my photographs. I don't want it too big, but it kind of helps the photographs to stand out against the other wood. What I'm doing now is using my distressing tool from Stampin' Up to rough up the edges, each edge of the strips of wood. And now what I'm doing is I've put loads of double-sided sticky on them, and I'm just sticking them down with a small gap in between. It kind of represents the bridge that my son is riding over on the photographs. I'm just going to trim these edges off. It takes a while because there's so much double-sided sticky on them. It keeps getting stuck to the pair of scissors, which is why I didn't do it in the guillotine, because that would have just messed up my guillotine. So yeah, I'm going to go up to down. Now I'm using my fingernails and my fingers just to rough up the edges. Saw that on Danny's video as well. Just to rough them up and give them a really, kind of scrape up those edges, give them a really distressed feel. I'm now just going to map my photograph onto that piece of wood grain paper, and then add some foam, or have some foam ready so that I can have it proud of the page a little bit. That there is the perspective from Bramble Fox. It says Adventures. It's in a grey colour. It looks quite black, but it's grey. And now what I'm doing is just adding some more layers behind my photograph. I think I'm going to distress all the edges of this, and then I decide I just want the end to, the top and the bottom need to be straight and more precise, and just have those rough edges at the end. It was looking all a bit too messy. And then I decided to use this spotty paper, which I just think really makes that photograph stand out and matches in beautifully with the piece of cardstock I've used for the background, which is a piece from Basic Grey out of my stash. So just matting everything up using the foam and lots of double-sided sticky. I decided to offset it slightly on that dotty paper because I think it just really helps. Now, what I'm using here are some Pink Fresh Studio foliage stamps from their Fancy Blooms collection, and I've coloured them in using 2 Pro markers in kind of minty green colours. It wanted foliage, it needed something to bring those colours together and break up that section of white. I then decided to use a bit more of the spotty paper to put a little bit at the top and bottom, just to match in really with what I've done with the matting behind the photograph. I'm now just going round and sticking the little stamped images at all different levels. So I'm popping some behind the photograph, some in between the matting, and then some on top of that wood grain paper, so that you can see and get those different heights. I'm just going to stick the photograph section down now so that it stays put while I'm trying to adhere all of these little blooms into place. Not blooms, sorry, leaves. I could have done with a bit bigger leaves, I suppose. But what I end up doing is just tucking the ends under, and it ends up just looking like one big leafy pattern. So just while I'm doing this, I'll tell you that I cut about 8 of each out, I think. There's lots of different ones on there, but I think I cut about 8 of each. And like I say, use my pro markers to colour them in. I don't want all that green on there, a bit too much, so I hang it off the edge of the page, and then I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off the excess, so that there's just a tiny bit there. Make sure it properly stuck down with a bit of wet glue. What I'm now going to do is put some little foam alphas on, and my title is going to be Love Our Little Adventures. And although on the camera there I don't know that you can see our Love Our Little very well, it does show up really nicely on the layout itself. You'll see it later on the close-ups. And then I'm just going to use my handy dandy paperweight just to make sure that that perspective adheres itself to the layout. I'm just pulling out now some packs of ephemera. Now, I was really worried when I thought about trying to embellish this layout, because I was pretty sure that as I was looking through what I had, I wasn't going to have anything that matched in colour. And I was really quite surprised at the amount of things I had in my stash that were the right colour for this layout. This is a set of basic grey embellishment. I think that's a map of America that I've just shoved in at the top there, but actually it matched in colour and it just looks like a map because I've done it upside down. I decided to use that frame around that photograph there, the one of him with the cheeky smile on his face. Apologies for the glare off the camera. And I think I also put that bunting on, so I pull off cardstock stickers there from Vicky Booton's Colour Kaleidoscope. I've got some, I think they're MME chipboard stickers I'm just pulling out. That's a set from, oh, I can't remember where that set's from actually. I've got various different bits and pieces, and I have pulled them from a whole variety of different places, but actually it works, and there's lots of them, and a lot more than I thought I have in these sort of minty green colours. So all I'm doing now is adhering the last few pieces down onto my layout, and there's a ticket going in there. Thank you ever so much for joining me on my channel today to watch another process video. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video if you like what you see. Lots more on the way. And I really do hope you have a lovely crafty day. And just like I was inspired by Danni Vee to do this, I hope this can inspire you to create some memory keeping of your own. Bye.